Okay, right, so moving on to question 3. These are statements you have to tick true or false. Okay, now usually they would give you 1 mark per statement ticked, but here they've been a little bit mean because it's 2 marks. So looking at the mark scheme, you probably would have... Sorry, I accidentally paused the video. So as I was saying, so 2 marks rather than 4 marks for each correct answer. So looking at the mark scheme, you would have to get all of them to get 2 marks and 2 correct to get 1 mark. But if you get 1 correct and 3 wrong, then you get no marks. So please make sure that you read the questions. Read the questions, okay? So tick whether the statements following statements are true or false. Answers to multiple choice examination papers can be read using an optical mark reader. Okay, so first of all, if you're not sure what an optical mark reader is, let's take a look at this. So, optical mark reader. Right, this is what an optical mark reader is. What it is, you make lots of little marks in some tickets. Okay, they're generally used for the National Lottery in England. Okay, and basically they pinpoint your marks. You have to mark in pencil, HB pencil, and then the computer actually marks, finds out where your marks are. So if I type in National Lottery UK tickets, you might be able to see what I mean when you mark them. Yes, here they are. So what you do in the UK when you're getting lottery tickets, you would use a pen. You can use a pen, but generally you're supposed to use pencils for these. Okay, you would actually mark what numbers you want. It would go through a machine, and then it would print out your ticket. Okay, I actually remember being a child in school. This technology has been around a long time. Our teacher used to take our register. So, optical mark reader register. So, yeah, oh, there it is. Yep, I remember that. So all the children's names would be there. These would be the days of the week, and they would actually mark whether the child was absent or present. Okay, then it would run through the machine, and the machine would then be able to actually mark the child absent or present. Okay, exams have also been done this way. So again, I remember when I was in school, we had to sit a science exam every term, and it was multiple choice. Okay, and we had to actually mark our answers just like this using pencil. Okay, so that statement is actually true. Here's another one here. Okay, just marking using a cross. Okay, right, moving on. I don't want to spend too long on that. Okay, so MICR, which stands for Magnetic Ink Character Reader, you should remember this, reads the information on a credit card. True or false? I'll give you a second to think about it. The answer is actually false. Now, if you remember, credit cards are read through magnetic stripes, okay, magnetic strips. Okay, an MIC reader is actually on a check. Okay, so now what it is, here's a sample check. The numbers that you see on the bottom of checks here, okay, are actually parts of inks, basically are an ink that have little particles of iron in them. And they're read in the bank, they're practically faultless. They're read in the bank, and the scanner would actually pick up the pattern using, obviously, the particles of iron that are magnetic, okay, or the particles of metal, and to read the information. So how they can detect that a check is actually false is because the ink here is not normal ink. It contains particles of iron, I believe. And then it's read through a machine. And as I said, the machine would only be able to pick up the magnetic waves. So here's the reader right here. That tiny little reader can do that. I remember these ones in the bank years ago. Okay, so now, as you know, credit cards. Okay, credit cards basically readers will read the magnetic stripe on the back. Okay, with all your information. So that black strip on the back. So I've typed in credit card. Okay. Let's see if we can find the back of a card here. Has all the information stored on it. Okay, still magnetic, but it's not the same. This is not magnetic ink. Okay, what is on the check is magnetic ink. All right. So next, credit cards. The chip on a credit card is read by a pin reader. Okay. Now, that is, if I look at the mark scheme, and I'll prove it to you, it's not true. Okay, it's actually false. Now, the reason why it's false is because the chip on a credit card is not read by a pin reader. Okay, it's actually read by a chip and pin device. Okay, but there's no such thing as a pin reader. Now, last question, very quickly. An RFID chip can be used to track stock. Okay, so RFID, okay, is a radio frequency identification device, and these are what they look like. Okay, now what they do in stores is very expensive items generally would actually have RFID readers on them. So the minute you pick up one in the store, technically the cameras can start to follow you. Okay, and they are used to track stock, where it is, where it's going, and they are incredibly clever. You may have seen these on library books. Okay, so library books then can't be stolen. And they're generally very cheap, very clever devices. And they come in all sorts of shapes and sizes and forms, okay, not just stickers. Some of them are not even detectable, okay, not detectable at all. So sometimes when you go into a store, they tend to have those great big disc tags that you can see here, and some of them don't. Some of them have got very small tags, and then what they do is they would, when you go to the counter, they would actually rub it up against a plate, and then that would stop it from working so you can actually leave the store. Okay, so can they be used to track stock? Well, absolutely yes, as you can see.